Okay. So I'm a bit late to this topic, but I still want to make a video on Neil Mohan, so here it is.
Be walking away from the company and would be taking on a smaller role at Google, and she'd no longer be the public face of YouTube.
The 16th employee at Google, Google was actually made at her childhood garage.
And one of the things that's really weird is the guy has a bit of a suspicious past, if you will, too. Specifically regarding the dirty, evil, filthy word NFT. Now,
As all of you guys may know, Susan Wojcicki recently stepped down as the CEO of YouTube and appointed Neil Mohan as the new CEO. And I guess I'll start with a brief summary of Neil and his journey so far. So Neil was born in Lucknow, India and did most of his education in the USA. He has an electrical engineering degree and an MBA from Stanford, and yeah, that's about it. I'll consider simping for him more after he does a good job managing YouTube. And Neil isn't exactly new to YouTube. He has been working for Google since 2007 and has been working as the chief product manager of YouTube since 2015. The reason he came to Google was because Google actually bought the company Neil was working at, DoubleClick, for $3.1 billion. And I'm gonna talk about DoubleClick a bit cause it's kinda interesting. The company DoubleClick can be considered a pioneer in internet advertising. They were one of the first companies to focus on using the internet to advertise and basically pioneered the way how internet companies use data collected from their users to give them specifically tailored ads. DoubleClick actually used to work for YouTube by trying to bring advertisers to the platform when the site looked like this, and the most popular video was probably this. And when nobody was making money from YouTube, including YouTube itself. And I feel that is pretty cool, because now it's easy to imagine an alternative video or streaming platform launching and advertisers would just immediately be on board. But at the time, what would you even say to advertisers? Invest in YouTube, we have a lot of cat videos and misleading thumbnails. Like, why would anyone spend money to advertise on this when they could spend their money on, say, a TV commercial? And yeah, a quick side tangent here. Neil Mohan is also a board member of 23andMe, which was founded by the sister of Susan, Anna Wojcicki, who also happens to be the ex-wife of Sergey Brin, the co-founder of Google, which is just, one of those rich people coincidences. Neil has worked closely with Susan and launched different YouTube services like Shorts and YouTube Premium. He also testified before Congress after the 2020 Trump and Biden Endgame movie, announcing stricter rules to combat extremism on the platform. And yes, the infamous YouTube NFT project. The only instance I could find of Neil being a little naughty, other than just being a rich shareholder who will just generally care more about the stock prices over anything else. And look. I'm not gonna bash him too much for the NFT thing. Yes, it was very stupid, and maybe Neil just got too eager seeing all the money Monkey Pixels were bringing in. I mean, look, at the time NFTs were at their peak. And if the whole NFT thing still had some steam, then I guarantee a lot of the major corporations would have done something similar, or at least be seriously considering it. But I do feel it was a premature move. If he had just waited like a couple of months, then nobody would be talking about this. The NFT plans were pretty funny though, like being able to buy a thumbnail or a specific frame of a video. Maybe Neil imagined iconic YouTube moments would be considered valuable memorabilia. I was listening to MKBHD talk on how Apple has changed since Tim Cook became the CEO. How when Steve Jobs was the CEO, the main focus of Apple was to be presentable and stand out, and not really care about the logistics of it. Cause Steve wasn't really a computer guy, as opposed to Steve Wozniak. But now Apple has a CEO who came from the logistics department, and even though Apple might not innovate as much, they are making more money than ever before. Like how Apple removed the chargers, made the box smaller, resulting in more boxes being shipped. And yeah, it's just a cool thought experiment on how different CEOs would have run YouTube. Like, I feel Steve Jobs would have made a platform as appealing as possible so advertisers would just flock to the platform. Tim Cook would have probably made the backend of YouTube streamlined and tried to save money there. While this might sound great, it's also easy to see Steve Jobs being extremely controlling and would basically try to police how content creators should behave. And the streamlining of the backend would probably not save a lot of money for a company like YouTube. And like, if Elon was the CEO, he probably would have made a diss track on his own employees and meme-load his way to inflating his stocks. And knowing stuff like the background of the CEO and what they are most confident in is a good way to predict the future of her platform. Neil is an advertising guy, true and true. He has talked about it multiple times, and he was essentially hired by Google because he knows how to deal with advertisers and how to bring in money. Twitter actually tried to poach him back in 2011, but Google paid Neil $100 million to actually stay at Google. And for an internet company like YouTube, advertisers are key. So it's not hard to imagine the platform pandering even more to advertisers. A change in the leadership of a company could bring drastic changes, like how the new CEO of Microsoft made the company more cooperative as a whole and just better overall, in comparison to the old tech before him. But the inclinations of Neil is so similar to Susan that I don't think much will change, and that might be good or bad. Recently YouTube had a rare win, and I don't know if Neil had anything to do with it, but still it's a good sign. And yeah, a company as big as YouTube won't just have one guy calling the shots. Like, I feel the video technology of YouTube is far ahead of any other social media platform. YouTube got 4K in 2010, a feature literally only used to check the quality of new displays, and just generally bad for the company financially. Somebody from the tech department must really have some influence, and I also want to talk about this. To make this video, I watched some of his interviews, and he seems very corporate. I don't know if this is a bad thing, but the way he speaks and gets around topics is like a person who is very well trained on how to speak to media, you know? It's really hard to relate to Neil cause everything feels so standard and planned out. If you see some of Susan's interviews, of course she is also media trained, but there are moments when she gets real and it's easier for a listener to empathize with her. So maybe he should work on that. And in conclusion, I just wish Neil the very best. Hope he brings better communication for the platform and its creators. That's all the creators ask for, and it's still YouTube's weakest link.